Hello, everybody. Let's talk about how you can manifest with the moon. So, in this video, I'm not really going to talk about manifesting techniques. I'm sure you have plenty of your own, but I'm going to talk about how to align your manifesting techniques with the phase of the moon. So here are the different moon phases. So the first is the dark moon, and this is when we are releasing and doing shadow work. So this happens a couple days before the new moon, and the actual dark moon is the day before the new moon. And then during the new moon is when we want to set intentions. And the new moon is not the day to actually set the intentions. It's more of the day to think about what intentions you want to set. And then a few days after the new moon is when we want to set the actual intentions and write them down. And then next we have the waxing moon, and this is when we are moving to the full moon. And so we're feeling more and more of the moon's energy. And this is when we are getting more and more of the water element as well. And then we have the phase of the full moon. And this is when we have the most moon energy. And so we're feeling our best. And this is when we want to go out and we want to celebrate our wins. And then finally, we have the waning moon phase. And this is when we are losing moon energy. So we can ride the high of the full moon for a few days after the full moon, but then we're going to start to feel that moon energy leaving. And this is when we will be more introspective. So I'm going to go a little deeper into each part of the moon and what you can do to align. So during the dark moon phase, this is when we want to turn inward and you can pay attention to your triggers. And you're going to be a little bit more sensitive. So now is actually a really good time to get a lot of feedback about what those triggers are. And then with that feedback, you can do shadow work or emotional releasing. So I'm not going to get into how to do shadow work in this video. There's plenty of videos out there on it. Maybe I'll make a video about it in the future. And there's also some great books that I will link in the description below. And then, as far as emotional releasing goes, this gets me to part of manifesting that you can do during the dark moon phase is to, a couple of days before the new moon or when you're feeling triggered, sit down and write down one sentence as to what you want to let go of, noticing what is bothering you. So if you are noticing that you haven't been feeling heard by your coworkers, then you can write that down. Like, I'm not feeling heard. And so whatever it is that's triggering you, you're going to write it down on a piece of paper. And then you're going to put it in like a glass or porcelain bowl. And then you'll light it on fire and watch it burn all the way down to ash. And then you can take the ashes and pour them into a plant, or you can pour them outside into the dirt. And then you've done that part of the moon phase as far as manifesting goes. And then next we have the new moon, and this is when we want to write down the thing that we want to grow. And so a good way to figure out what that is to reverse engineer whatever your trigger was. So if you aren't feeling heard, then maybe you need to feel validated. And so you're going to write down whatever your trigger was, you're going to write down the thing that will help you feel better about the trigger. That's going to be like what your needs are. And so your need would be that, like, I need to feel validated. And we are at a place in our lives where we are old enough to do our own validation or give ourselves our own needs. And so this is not about other people validating you. This is about you validating yourself. And so you're going to write this word down. So in this case, you would write down, validation. And then you can also take the piece of paper that you wrote it down on and put it into a plant, or you can take it outside and put it into the earth. And then during the waxing moon phase, so as this energy is building, we want to have some type of mantra or positive affirmation that we're working with so that we can keep the momentum of this manifestation going and we're staying on track. So it could be something as simple as I validate myself. I feel valid. I am validated. And just putting that into perspective, continuously reminding yourself on what you're working on and what you're growing. This is when that energy is going to be working for you. And you're going to be able to really hardwire this into the brain. So, this is also kind of like neurogroove science. When you're feeling really good, you can ride that high and really download that good feeling into the nervous system. And so, that's what we're doing during this waxing moon phase. And then we get to the full moon. And this is when our energy is the highest. This is when we want to go out and if we can be with men too, but if we can be with other women, this is especially beneficial because when women come together during the full moon, we actually heal each other. And what happens is whatever woman is most aligned with the full moon, she starts to pull everybody else in a little bit more alignment to the full moon. And so she can be very healing on other women's menstrual cycles because she's aligned with the moon. And if you have multiple women there who are aligned with the moon, then you can really amplify this energy. And so women coming together, especially during the full moon, this was actually done a lot in many different cultures and indigenous species. So this is something that is not unique. It's actually happened or been going on for a long time. And the reason is because women's energy heals other women, and it's because we have that connection to the moon. And there was a time where the moon was full and we could go out and moonbathe and actually get a lot of that moon energy. But now we have a lot of light fog. So we're not really getting as much of that moon energy as we did in the past. And so many of us aren't as aligned with the moon. And so some women will be in places where they're able to get more of that moonlight and then they can share it with other women just through their energy and being around each other. And then the waning moon phase, this is when we have to face the facts that we can't always ride the high and we're going to have to start to turn a little bit more inward and maybe even feel a little low. So this is a good time to meditate. This is a good time to stay in and conserve your energy. The waning moon, we may feel a little bit more sensitive. The moon represents our emotions, and now we are being more affected by vata, which is the air and ether element. So we're feeling less grounded, we're feeling more unstable, and so this can cause us to be more disturbed. And this is again when we can get really good feedback as to what our triggers are. And you can think of these triggers as like anchors that are holding you back. They hold you down. And a lot of the times we don't really know what those anchors are. But during this waning moon phase is when we can identify what the anchors are. And now's the time to go in and release them. And this is a really important part of manifesting because we spend a lot of time talking about aligning our energy with what we want and like feeling is the secret and all this stuff about how we want to be positive all the time. but we're not going to be positive all the time. And we are going to have highs and we're going to have lows. And we can actually work with the lows. And that is what we're learning during that waning moon phase is how to turn more towards our triggers and do that shadow work so that we can release the anchors that are holding us back from what we're trying to manifest. So, this is the end of how to manifest with the moon. I hope you found it helpful. I would love to know how you already align with the moon, if you get together with other women during the full moon, or any other way that you celebrate the moon phases. And I will see you in the next video.